Hello and welcome to The Print. This is Ratan, Priya, and I have Rohan Chakravarty with us, who has come up with his new book, See Ice, Now You Don't. Rohan, tell us, what is the vibe of your book that you want your readers to take from, and is it climate anxiety?
Oh, you mean the general mood of the book that I want to imbibe in the reader?
Yes.
No, it's not climate anxiety. No, absolutely not. I'm sorry it comes across as that. It's not meant to incite a feeling of doom, but to kind of, I guess it's a sardonic and a satirical take on the direction in which humanity is progressing with every passing day, and our idea of what development and a good life means, and to what extent can it come at the cost of the environment, at the cost of nature, and things that our lives are directly dependent on, and things that we don't realize. The fact that humanity itself is very much a part of the web of life, and that is what I wish to bring the attention of my readers to.
Can you tell us about what Green Humor is and how did it turn into series of books and so many columns? When did it start?
Green Humor is the name of my series, a series of comics and cartoons that deal with environment, nature conservation, wildlife conservation, and basically all things green. So, there's climate change, there's climate justice, there's social issues that are intertwined with issues of climate change, especially in a country like ours. And there's also cartoons about environmental governance, both in India and outside of India, around the world. So Green Humor started as a column in the print media back in 2013. So it's existed as columns in the print media for more than 10 years now. And the three books that have come out as anthologies are a collection of all the work that has appeared in these columns, as well as a few columns in the web. So right now, Green Humor is published by The Hindu every Sunday, by Round Glass, which is a wildlife magazine, and also by Deutsche Welle, the German news channel, on their social media account. So the book that we are discussing today, See Ice, Now You Don't, is a compilation of Green Humor comics that have appeared in the last 2 years.
Okay, since you've mentioned it yourself, the artwork that you make is political, and the nature of the cartoons, it is critiquing the structure and policies and everything. Do you face some kind of pushback ever, or the humor part of it makes up for it?
I do face a lot of backlash, especially online on social media, especially when I'm drawing about the confluence of environmental governance and politics. There have been a lot of these issues in India, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, and of course, cartooning on these issues comes at with the realization that it may not align with the opinions of all my readers, and that's completely okay. It's not a cartoonist's job to please everyone and caress your readers' egos. It is to satirize the truth, and that's something I hope to and plan to stay true to throughout the course of my career for as long as it lasts. And I think backlash and trolling is a part and parcel of being a cartoonist today. And I take inspiration from the wild animals like I draw, like the rhino and the pangolin, to develop a thick skin towards trolling and backlash and continue my work.
Correct. How long have you been doing this? I mean, I read that you started making cartoons since you were 16 years old.
Oh, no, I've been drawing cartoons all my life, but Green Humor has started in 2010 officially as a website, and it's existed in the print media as periodical columns for the last 10 years now.
So did cartoons come after you started bird watching, or was it like together? Like your interest in cartoons and wildlife, was it at the same time?
I've been a cartoonist all my life. I've dabbled as a cartoonist a lot. Before wildlife happened, I think wildlife happened much later in my life. So before that, I was dabbling as a cartoonist, not really finding my feet. But after I got interested in wildlife, that's really when also my cartooning took off into a direction that I identified with and related with, and which is why I think I'm very grateful to my muse, which is wildlife, and I also have the sense of giving back to my muse. So that also keeps me motivated towards what I draw and the purpose I draw for.
When I was going through the book, I noticed this one thing: your description of violence in the wildlife, like stuff like Godfather references, Shrike the Impaler. I feel like you really love your killers.
You're right. I do have I've been a fan of violence in cinema, of action films, of thriller, yeah, violent thrillers, and I guess having grown up on the cinema of Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, even to a certain extent Quentin Tarantino. I know I'm taking a lot of problematic names, but that's how my my
Yeah.
cinema watching experience has been. It has certainly found its way
And
and
you have
influence.
a Wonka Wai poster behind you.
That's right. Yes, yes, yes. I do. I'm a bit of a cinephile, and I do enjoy exploring cinema from around the world. But yeah, the thing about violence, depicting violence in nature, is also staying true to your subject material, because
Yeah.
nature is ruthless, and a lot of fine artists who draw wildlife also tend to portray a very romantic picture of nature. And I think as a cartoonist, I feel a sense of responsibility to kind of portray the true picture. I
Yeah.
mean, nature can be endearing while being ruthless and violent. And that is my connection with nature. That is what's also something that draws me to nature. In fact, in my previous book, Naturalist Study, which is a series of a mongoose's adventures, the mongoose thinks he's a detective, and he's going about solving imaginary crime scenes in nature. So whatever observations he's making in nature, he's
Yeah.
treating them as crime scenes and going about solving them. So those crime scenes, they actually involve how animals kill each other, how animals eat each other. There's it's an insect eat insect world out there. So yeah, I want my readers to be acquainted with the real life ruthlessness in nature that happens day in and day out.
Would you do you think there is a scope for a fiction book coming from you?
I haven't really thought about an out and out fiction, but then I've just described the series of a detective mongoose's adventures. So I think my work kind of tends to fall into a semi fictional and
Hmm.
derivative fictional category. So I'm not sure if an out and out fiction might come out of me anytime soon. But yeah, I'm definitely going to try that in future when I feel like it. Yeah.
I think there is a great material for it.
Right.
So I was wondering how you gather so much information like across species, landscapes, countries, and like specific policies of different nations, and then you make these strips. So like, what is the like how tedious the research is like?
I won't describe it as tedious because these are things I also enjoy reading about. See, my
Right.
opinion is that the way we consume news uh, and tidbits about science in the media, that really needs to change, because I do this presentation to promote my book a lot of times at schools, at institutes, and I give when the presentation opens, I give three sets of images for my readers to identify. One is usually a celebrity, the other is a politician, and the third is a species of dragonfly. Uh, Usually, the audience can name the celebrities and politicians, but cannot name the species of dragonfly, and that is, my problem with the way media portrays science, and science is even written about in newspapers, because
Also,
the
it's
species of
very
dragonfly.
dense. The information that is given out, science communication, for example, the information that is given out is very dense for a lay person to follow. So, in your book also, you must have had to dumb things down to a point while keeping them clever, so that they're easy to understand.
So I never, I always kind of you know, stop myself from dumbing things down or treating my audience as less intelligent than me. That's not how I
You know
work.
what I mean? To
I'm sorry?
simplify things. I mean, you know what I mean. I meant to
Yes,
simplify things.
simplification is important, and I think visuals kind of help do that, and visual humor to a large extent, because I think humor has that intrinsic property to not only make you retain things but also want to respond to them.
Yeah.
Because it's like a friendly handshake between my subject and my reader. So I think humor helps me kind of distill and make information palatable without really dumbing it down. And I think the simple rule that I follow when I create my comics about complex issues is that if I am able to retain what I'm drawing about, my reader will too. And generally, that is the case.
Okay. I think in your portrayal of the wildlife, there is humor, of course, but there's a lot of emotional. Um, how do I explain it? It's there. For example, the comic strip about soft shell turtles.
Right. Yes.
So how softness is everyone's superpower. So when
Right.
as a writer, when you are in the process of writing, do you control yourself to not land jokes but keep it meaningful, like every time not going for a joke? Is it a decision you make, or is just like case by case basis? Some things make you feel a certain way.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. Actually, I mean, if I there are quite a few instances where I'm going about writing a joke, but it turns into something else because the situation calls for it. So it really depends upon what I'm drawing about. The comic that you are talking about, the soft shell turtle, is actually one of my more popular comics among my readers, because it not only depicts the softness being a superpower for the animal, the soft shell turtle, but it also explores a softer side to humor. So it kind of also becomes a nice metaphor for that. So I think it varies from situation to situation. My humor can be very dark at times when I'm portraying death or something like that in nature. It can be very mischievous, out and out naughty. When I'm depicting, say, mating behaviors of wild animals, which happens a lot in this book. And yeah, I think it also goes as a warning for my readers to not consider this a children's book simply because it has cartoons. I have to warn you that there are a lot of animals killing each other and mating with each other.
Yeah. um, what was the criteria in your head when you were picking comics for this particular collection?
Well, the brief was simple. It was just to pick some of what I consider the best among the work that was published in the last 2 years, and a few comics that have been left out of the previous compilations for the lack of space from previous years as well. So I'm really thankful to my editor, Mr. Primanko Goswami from Penguin, for keeping it very concise, because I think I've made this mistake in my previous compilations of cramping too much into pages, simply because I didn't know if there will be another Green Humor compilation ever again. So yeah, I think the editorial team at Penguin has done a good job at keeping things crisp and concise with this one.
Yeah. I read this interview in which you said that you wouldn't be a storyteller if it wasn't for personification of animals. So
It's true,
it's
because
true.
I think I really I relate with animals far more than I relate with people. I've always been a bit of a recluse and an introvert, and a caveman. And I think yeah, human characters and human stories don't come to me as naturally as my exploration of the wild world does through cartoons. Yeah.
Is there any cartoonist who inspires you and you look up to?
Yes, there are so many. The Largely the work of Bill Watterson and Gary Larson. Bill Watterson of Calvin and Hobbes, Gary Larson of The Far Side, have been extremely influential in the way Green Humor is drawn, the kind of humor Green Humor deploys. But if there's really one person, I have to credit of who's the very reason why I chose to become a cartoonist is Jendi Tartakovsky. He's an animator and the creator of very famous animation series like Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack that people in my from my generation grew up watching. So it's his work that really pushed me to experiment with cartoons as an art form.
Okay, this is something little on the other side. What do you think is the major concern right now that India is facing in terms of wildlife and climate?
Oh, there are so many concerns. I think three
One,
of them I can
okay,
name straight off the bat is are one is that there is a growing disconnect between good science and governance, and that is something my work tries to actively address, one cartoon at a time. And I hope that even other creative communicators take these matters up because there is a complete disregard of science when it comes uh, to the governance of environment and nature in this country right now. And you can see a lot of catastrophes staring at us right in our face. What's happening in Great Nicobar is a perfect example. The building of safari parks in Haryana, in bang in the middle of the Aravallis is another. So and there is no sound science, backing all of this. Experts of wildlife science and people who are representative of these policies in the government are at complete loggerheads. So this is something we
yes,
really need to address. Second is our dependence on fossil fuels and the very fact that some of our biggest players in fossil fuel industries from our country can go to COP28 and call the shots there is a bit of a mockery of environmental justice. And the
yeah,
third, which a lot of people may not acknowledge as a real problem, but I think it is overpopulation. India is a grossly overpopulated country, and we need to do something, to the point of making sacrificial decisions at a personal level to control our population right away.
thank you, Rohan. I have two questions now from your fans. One wants to know why have you named your dogs Sakshi and Srishti? Is it to get back at some of your exes? And second question is how do you spot so many obscure birds in your yard? Where do you live?
Okay. Uh, all my exes are my dear friends. I would never want to get back at them. And and I love dogs. I absolutely love dogs. So if I'm giving a dog your name, it actually reflects on how much I respect and love you rather than getting back at somebody. Why I named my pet dog Srishti and Sakshi is simply because my brother and I have very, dog like nicknames, Bonnie and Honey. So I thought, why not reverse that and give my dogs human sounding names? So that's why they're called Shrishti and Sakshi. The other question, yes, I have the privilege of living in a very green corner of Nagpur, which is still not as developed as the rest of the city. It still has access to a biodiversity park called Gorewada, very close by. So I do get a lot of birds, a lot of wildlife, even mongooses. Just last month during a deluge, a porcupine got stranded in my colony. So all these things keep happening here, and yeah, I have inspiration right at my door, literally. So that really helps the cause of my series as well. Yeah,
That must be so nice.
yeah.
How has the response been so far for the book?
Oh, the book is actually yet to release, so I will only know once it really hits the stands. The first launch event is in Bangalore at Champaka Books on the 24th of this month. So let's see what the response is like through this month and beyond. Yeah.
Okay, my last question. Since this is going to be your eighth book, and there was a time when you were an unpublished author,
Yes.
but then you were writing columns that I mean you were published, but as a author as a book. What do you have as an advice to young writers who want to get published and don't want to take the conventional route of fiction storytelling and all. Comics, cartoonists, illustrators who want to get published, because it's very difficult to guide them. Whatever you want to say.
I don't think I'm qualified to give people younger than me advice. I'd rather, beg for advice from them, because the media landscape is changing so quickly that even I'm failing to keep pace. I cannot identify with, Gen Z and upcoming generations and what they consume, what they like, the language they speak, the books they read. So I'm failing to keep pace with changing media landscapes and changing generations, changing tastes myself. So I would urge all of you to give me advice on how to go about all this and fit into this changing world as a cartoonist. I really don't have any advice to give people younger than me. Yeah, except maybe just to um, see to just accept it as being okay if you have a few loose nuts in the head, and capitalize on that, because not everyone does. Yeah.
Thank you so much.